They very commonly also follow it with Gwen, especially like their last series versus Cloud9. They throw that one at Thanatos. So a lot of these TL bans, even though they're on red side now, will look fairly similar from blue side too. They're kind of pigeonholed.
All right, the third ban for TL will be the Ahri. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kalista, Pantheon, and Rumble targeted for removal by C9, and they will first pick the Vi. I know that there's probably a lot of C9 fans out there not too happy with the start of this draft.
I mean, I think when they go Vi that early, they're very likely to just go towards Vi Taliyah, something like that, right? I do think that's really strong. Obviously, the Ahri pairing is already taken out, but Taliyah could be used, as a bit of a denial pick here. Pantheon is gone, Vi is gone, so some of those best jungle pairings aren't there, but you can still go Taliyah Xin Zhao or something along those lines and have it be just fine.
Yep, 100%. Don't want to give over the Taliyah after the Vi's already been first picked, so they will take that away. APA talked about it on the recent Pros podcast as well. Like, this champion is just busted at the moment. It's also one of his best, so pick that up and get Yuuji, an attack damage jungler. Yuuji is, by his description, the carry jungler of the two. He mentioned like the Naafiri and Wukong and stuff as well, which to me, I'm like, well, Umpty also played Naafiri and he did carry with it, but we'll see here. Getting that Naafiri is always a good thing.
His birthday, happy birthday.
For a jungler right now.
All right, the response over on the side of C9 is to lock in the Azir. Azir versus Taliyah is just the peanut butter and jelly of mid lane. They're always together, one versus the other one. It just seems like
Do you like peanut butter and jelly flowers?
I like anything until I have to eat it 75 days in a row. So I'm very thankful for Fearless and the fact that it'll only be one game here with these two, as the Varus is locked in for Zven on C9 side as well, and Team Liquid gonna put Impact on a tank with a Sion.
Welcome to LA, all the way from Texas. We got people flying in.
Let's go.
All the way. It's almost 6,000 miles, I think it said, to see CoreJJ. We got people flying in from Texas, so welcome. Hope you all enjoy the show. And we got the Sion here for Impact. I think it makes a lot of sense. Rumble was already taken off the table for him. They can throw a couple protection bans here for that Sion to try to deny Thanatos. Bwipo talked a lot about their matchup against C9 and how his role was really just to neutralize Thanatos. He thought that was the key to actually beating Cloud9. And we'll see if TL does try to replicate that. And Bessa, one of his best champions, that's going to be taken away. And the Gwen's already gone, so those are two of those ones that people kind of like playing into tanks. And we'll see if they're going to take away something like the Jace as well to try to limit him a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to take down Thanatos, neutralize basically the biggest carry player on the team. Although a lot of the other players have been stepping up recently. I think Loki definitely having some good performances himself. So we'll see how he does on the Azir this time around. But does Thanatos actually draw another ban on top of Gwen and Bessa?
I feel like he should, honestly. He is the biggest threat in lane.
Yeah, but like, so a lot of people do like still playing the Sion into the Jace. Like, are you like super scared about the Gnar? Because those are some of the other common things that he does play.
They don't care about any of them. They care more about the
I guess they feel okay. We'll see after the game if they still feel that level of safety.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. It depends on what their read is, right? If Impact is comfortable in these matchups, then they don't need to spend any more bans towards it. Instead, they are going to be banning away the Alistar. They can obviously take a support here on 4 if they wanted to try to thin that pool even more. Well, Senna and Ezreal are both banned away. We saw Senna very effective yesterday for Masu.
And considering it's Fearless, I actually think that if Impact is comfortable against those champions that can be more difficult for a lot of other matchups like the Gnar or the Jace, it's actually not just a disadvantage to leave them open. You're getting an advantage by taking one of them out for the rest of the series right here if Impact is confident that he can absorb the pressure from them. Now let's see what Team Liquid's going to lock in here. Okay, we've got the Jhin to match the Varus in bot lane.
We have had actually a lot of Jhin popularity over the last couple of weeks. A lot because of some of the early snowball that these top teams have been doing. It does provide a lot more CC, so let's see what the answer is to round out the Cloud9 side. Into the Sion, Thanatos kind of toying around with the Renekton.
Yeah, it seems probably pretty likely. We've seen this a number of times. I feel like it's a fine matchup. Vulcan very likely to just go hard engage here. I think we're going to just see some permutation of like Leona on one side, Rell on the other side. Like maybe there could be a Rakan in there. Both teams, I do think, would want some of that hard engage, especially on the TL side where they don't really have a go button right now. At least Cloud9 does have VODS. They have some more flexibility, but Rell makes a lot of sense. You kind of just choose what side of the engaged matchups you want. I feel like that's always the first couple games in Fearless is going to be like, okay, you have to get through Nautilus, through Rell, through Alistar, through Leona, and once those are gone, there's more flexibility, unless you're going towards something like Lucian Melio or Lucian Nami.
Yeah, Team Liquid kind of thinking about, okay, so Cloud9 do have a lot of dive. They have Vi, which they start out with, plus the Rell, plus Azir moves there. So what can we do to deal with that amount of dive? Of course, Taliyah rocks are always a good example, but they get that primary engage that you're looking for. Rakan's way quicker than the Sion coming through, so Sion plus Rakan is always a really nice combination. You get the quick moving skinny guy and then the big moving train coming afterwards.
I just always feel like you need some sort of point and click, some sort of hard engage to be able to set up APA here on the Taliyah. Of course, you can hit seismic shoves, unassisted, but it is so much easier, so much better in these 5v5s if you have that threat of just the R flash from CoreJJ and APA follows it right up to get 100-0.
I want to see, after we got Whippo's Renekton performance yesterday, that Renekton was with like a 7,000 gold advantage, way more tanky than the Sion. I want to see if Thanatos,
can the matchup. You just get 7K ahead, and then you just turn out to be more tanky.
Let's see how Thanatos, if he can replicate
back and really be a competitor and be one of those scary teams by the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is so important getting in all these games, especially because we only had one best of 5 last split, right? Most of these teams didn't play a single best of 5 in Fearless yet on stage. So they have got to adapt to this. The more games you get here on stage, the more deep Fearless series you actually have, the more adept you're going to get to it. And, when you talk about Fearless drafting, well, this guy has been very good for the team when he has been here.
He certainly has. Just look at the win rate. You can't argue with the numbers.
Numbers are numbers, man. The math knows.
You can look for some holes, and you can definitely still look for some arguments. But Spawn is actually the GOAT coach, and they flew him back over just after the previous Cloud9 series. So he was not here.
Tariffs on Australian coaches these days.
Spawn was not present for the Cloud9 2-0 of Team Liquid that we had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So now is the chance for them to actually replicate, and Yuuji does get caught on the late invade.
Oh, wow. Yuuji takes a lot of damage on that one. The dog was hungry for some chickens, but immediately just gets thrown back out into the yard. But now, Zven and Vulcan walking right into the tri-brush here as Core and Yeon were waiting for him to trade back a little bit. Crash down from Vulcan does not hit CoreJJ, so the strike back from C9, not quite as strong as it could be.
No, but still, they got 2 potions there. They got a potion off Zven and a potion off Vulcan, so they are going to be feeling pretty good about how that actually started out.
And the big thing is, you're going for an invade. Look at the mini-map right now, or the picture-in-picture, because you can see in the picture-in-picture, they're doing a replay of how Blaber got over there. But while they go for this counter, on the late invade for Raptors, they also had prepped this counter on the red quadrant here, so he takes away from Yuuji very early in the game, and we knew coming into this, jungle was going to be a priority, level 1s were going to be a priority. Yuuji's back for round number 2 at those Raptors. Neither of them have flash. The cooldown on the smite for Blaber is just barely coming back.
Yeah.
It was like a couple seconds away from that charge. Yuuji is able to get it.
Yeah, now they're going to be starting up the red here, and Core is there to help as well. Without Blaber having level 3 or any sort of assistance from his bot lane, it's unlikely he can actually move over. And this is actually warded out at Krugs as well, and now Yeon's coming, so they are really kind of turning the tables here onto Blaber.
Yeah, Team Liquid putting on the pressure as Yeon, dealing with Vulcan and Zven in a 1v2, has plenty of attention drawn his way so that Yuuji and Core can complete their task over there with the red buff, while Impact is on the losing end of some trades up here against Thanatos' Renekton.
I just have to say, the beginning of this game is so cool because everybody coming in after last week's series, all expecting jungle focus, all expecting all these level 1s, because the teams that prepped so heavily for their level 1s last weekend were rewarded incredibly heavily. I mean, CoreJJ absolutely just solo won the first game by taking contracts, the enemy jungle, out of the game. And so Cloud9 knew this was going to be imperative coming and playing versus Team Liquid. So nice little battle that we've had so far, which has ended up fairly even, all said and told.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is basically their stats last week, and then the career win right here. Now, how many games? 2-0. Not bad.
100% is 100%.
100% is 100%. Blaber, though, insane win rate for how many games he has played in the career. Absolutely one of the best junglers in the region of all time. I do think, you know, yes, Yuuji played great last week, but you have to be looking at this as a very lopsided matchup based on the experience, based on how many series Blaber has won, how good he has been for how long. You know, Yuuji really does have a lot of work to do, but I love how much TL has made the focused effort to really set him up for success. Not even just last week, but it's like when you have a level 1 like that, where it goes that bad, where you're pushed out, where you almost die, it can be a horrible game for you, but his team then recommits to reinvading. You know, CoreJJ comes over, again, helping him out and trying to put him in a position where he can feel comfortable and confident.
Yeah, that level 1, it's not just almost dying at the chickens and then having to flash away. It's having your own red also stolen away by the cheeky flash past the vision at level 1 from the opponent jungler. But the team having his back, like you're saying, making sure that he doesn't fall behind. He still has the smallest of gold leads, about the equivalent of 1 melee minion. But Vulcan and Zven have now taken their position up here in the top side of the map. Yeon and CoreJJ doing the same, as bot laners and top laners are going to switch those positions on the Rift right now. And you can see Blaber is already down there in that bot side river once more. Going to look maybe for APA here with a Vault Breaker. Loki's ready to dash in and follow up, and APA forced to flash.
And Thanatos, we are looking at the top side matchup when they're trading up there. He already had the advantage over Impact, and then they make the early swap. And you saw on screen, he was getting a turret plate while Impact was trying to teleport back in there. So this Renekton already is the biggest difference, and we'll see how big he can actually get. Again, a lot of people kind of remembering, maybe even traumatized by the previous Renekton that we had yesterday. We'll continue to track because he is a little bit down in experience, although he does have the gold lead.
All right, so Vulcan used his flash there, and he does not have Hex Flash on the Rell. Yes, he gets the cleanse out of Yeon, but that cooldown is significantly shorter than Vulcan's flash. So C9's playmaking opportunities are going to be a bit more limited here for the next few minutes, and that is going to include the timer for when the grubs spawn here in about 2 minutes from now, as Yuuji starts up the first neutral objective with the Drake.
Yeah, we'll see if there's any sort of an opportunity to punish that cleanse. You know, if they do show up and they have a 5v5 around the grubs, then maybe, you know, a flash stun from the Renekton could really punish it or something along those lines. But otherwise, obviously, it is going to be a trade up here for Yeon if he can just play safe until that does come up. TL, though, going to be farming this dragon, no problem. Early Ocean Dragon, always going to feel nice in some of these matchups, especially, you know, tank versus carry style matchups. Like the Sion here, getting that early Ocean Dragon means you're going to be able to be a lot more tanky in those 1v1s and kind of just withstand the early pressure, which is really all Impact has to do here. He just has to get experience, get his minions, and scale up.
It is worth noting, Impact used his ultimate to make a tempo play to get back down to the bottom lane and try and push that wave into tower, but it was a cannon wave, and so Thanatos actually only missed one singular melee minion walking back, and not a lot was gained there. And now the minions in front of tower has it
frozen.
He's got it in a very dangerous spot for Impact. So Impact trying here to push on in and actually crash the wave. Well, Thanatos there gives a little bit of punishment on the way out and just continues to have a pretty good early start for himself.
And that was actually pretty nice by Impact. It's one of these small things that I think sometimes people don't really think about, but one of the best ways to actually, you know, break a freeze like that is to force your opponent to trade onto you in the wave, right? So Thanatos goes forward, you hit him with a slice and dice, you know, you hit him, you know, the Q goes through the wave, and that kind of breaks that.
Loki's going in for APA as Blaber's there for the follow-up, and remember, Taliyah's flash was already spent earlier. Blaber makes a repeat visit, and Loki gets first blood.
Blaber very active in this game. You know, people were talking about him, all these pre-game interviews we did, like about how much he farms. And he does farm very efficiently. He also puts out some pretty good pressure towards mid lane. And the repeat there from Vi, he didn't have to use his ultimate. So Vi still has ult for the grub fight.
Okay, grubs already started up by Cloud9. Blaber's going to claim the first one, but Yuuji, Core, and Yeon are ready to contest for the remaining two.
Loki's basing, so they're just going to give it up, I think. No, now he canceled his base, so maybe they're at least thinking about it, but APA had TP'd back, and maybe they were just feeling that the resource difference there was too large. Impact almost has his ulti as well, so Thanatos has got to be careful.
Yep, Thanatos popping the Dominus just to make sure that he has plenty of HP to continue to survive the encounter down here. Yuuji with total control over that grub pit has already claimed one for Team Liquid, and it looks like nobody from C9 is going to be around to try to contest that third grub. So 2-to-1 split favoring TL with the grubs. They also got that first neutral objective in the Drake that we mentioned earlier, so 2 out of 3 already completed for the feat.
I'm going.
I'm looking.
Strong. He dead.
He dead, nice.
Nice, guys.
Missed
Nice,
it.
guys.
Nice.
You want to do
Is
two?
grub still fine?
I want to do one.
those are just efficient comms. I'm going, and he's dead. Okay. all the important updates.
Yep, and you heard they had planned there. Zven was asking, do you want to do 2 grubs? Blaber says, nope, just want to do 1, and then he's going to go back to farming. So is able to get that. And, to touch back on what you were talking about earlier, I do feel like we've seen a number of interviews where, people are talking about, pros are talking about Blaber or Inspired, and they're like, yeah, they just farm. They don't really do that much. And I feel like it's such an oversimplification of how they're playing the game. Because to me, jungling has always been, and probably always will be, about efficiency. It's about how you spend your time, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're just farming. They're farming, but then they're finding windows of opportunity where they can put pressure on the map, where they can cover waves, where their opponents need to, push out. They can be there for a counter gank. They're always there at the right time while keeping their farm high, and that is just being a good jungler.
Yeah, it's about minimizing the opportunity costs, right? Always finding that value play, as Impact seems to not be struggling a whole lot, really, against Thanatos on the Renekton. Yeah, he's down a couple hundred gold, but it's nothing super severe. He's still up very slightly in EXP as well.
I will say often, when it goes into this kind of matchup and, Impact stopping for the Bramble Vest here, Thanatos is going to be pretty strong when he gets 1 item. He spent his gold on Cull early on, right? So if you get towards Black Cleaver or whatever, on that 1 item, you can start to then bully the Sion again, usually. But Impact definitely has stabilized, and as long as you can get through the early levels without just getting slammed, even if you start losing the push, it doesn't matter. You're going to be able to hold at your tower just fine.
Meanwhile, we also have Loki getting the full Nashers after that kill, so a little bit different investment from the junglers, with Yuuji picking up the neutral objectives, or the majority of them, but Blaber having those visits, and we'll see if that does pay off, because honestly, Loki has been quite good for Cloud9, especially over the last several weeks. Especially on this champion. He's very comfortable on the Azir, and it's going to be an interesting one to track.
And this was how the matchup went last time these two did go head-to-head. Thanatos, playing the Gnar into Impact's Yorick, was able to actually Flame Horizon him, definitely got the better of him, in the 1v1, in the laning phase. And now it's interesting to see, what the read is here for TL in Game 1. Obviously, Impact people talk a lot about how he's better on tanks and kind of his specific carries. Thanatos is also quite a meta player. Like, he plays a lot of the standard champs. So it'll be super interesting to me to see where these players go if we get towards a Game 4, Game 5. Where are they going to take us as far as their champion pools, and what would their comfort levels be?
Those conversations are one of the biggest reasons why I want Game 4 and Game 5 in these Fearless matchups. It just becomes so much more interesting, as now CoreJJ with a big engage on Loki in mid, but it's not enough. There's not enough follow-up damage, and Loki's still alive with about 1/3 HP remaining. That was Core's flash, that was Core's ult, that was a lot of resources used for TL to not get away with a kill, or even a flash from the C9 mid laner.
One thing though, Loki has no TP, so if they want to actually fight this dragon, he is going to be down quite a bit of health. You can see Impact tried to walk through and potentially proxy there, but Thanatos stunned him under the tower, so it prevents him from getting that proxy. So now if Impact roams with his ulti, he's going to lose tower plates up on the top side. So it was actually really critical that Thanatos denied that proxy angle there from Impact.
All right, top lane going to continue trading while Team Liquid backs up as a 3-man squad. APA coming over to help now as well with the Weaver's Wall. The curtain call opens up, and C9's got to try to exit to their right. They escape most of the shots as Team Liquid now continues marching forward. Dragon's already been aggroed. It's Blaber taking the shots for now, but immediately Team Liquid is ready to step in. Dragon still at about half HP. Vulcan off to the side, has the flash, back up and available on the Rell, but he's only half HP. APA firing the rocks back over the wall for a good bit of damage, as now teleports are ready to arrive for both of the top laners. It'll be a smite fight over the Drake, and it's going to be claimed by Team Liquid. Now, can they find anything else on the follow-up? Blaber in some danger here on the front line as the Chains of Corruption fly out and lock Impact up, but the rest of Team Liquid is not able to move forward fast enough. So C9 will disengage without losing anybody, but it's Team Liquid who claim the objective.
Yeah, they got the Dragon and they got both summoner spells here off of Zven. Impact coming in with the early teleport into the ultimate. I thought it was going to be even worse for Cloud9 with the sandwich there, but Loki is able to Azir ult Impact on over back to his own side. But still, having no summoner spells left on the Varus after this Dragon as well could be detrimental. Again, Cloud9 started this fight out with the lower end of health bars, but Impact coming in first here definitely has a very large effect going straight towards them. So
1068 to 0. Both of them just smote at the exact same time pretty much there. And yeah, I mean, Impact comes in, as you said, I agree. It could have went a lot worse for them. When you see him on that flank, you're getting definitely nervous for C9. It did seem like there was a little bit of maybe miscommunication between Loki and Thanatos, because Thanatos was moving forward to try to attack Impact as he got Azir ulted out. And Thanatos clearly wanted to try to look for something, TPing in, had his first item, was feeling strong, but not an angle for a fight there for C9. And TL going to be really comfortable about how this game is starting up, especially when it's a Mountain Soul. If you can work towards that with this sort of Sion as your front line, he's going to be invulnerable.
Okay, so Thanatos does have that first item that you mentioned, also has 1 stack left to clear on the Cull, so about to get a payday on that one too. So we are approaching that point where the Renekton could be a big threat if we get to see him in one of these fights. The next fight likely to happen, of course, would be the Rift Herald spawning here in just about 30 seconds.
And it's going to be dangerous because, like we're talking about with Zven having both summer spells blown, this is a Varus with no mobility. So you're playing versus Naafiri here. That thing can destroy you. You have Taliyah that you have to worry about with the wall coming through. It's like CoreJJ on flanks as well. Zven has to be so careful with his positioning, but they're actually teleporting the Taliyah down to bottom side here.
Okay, Impact going to lead the charge as they go in for the tower dive, but Seismic Shove sidestepped as Thanatos then slices through the unraveled earth. He'll tank the stun just to get the extra distance.
Yeah, and Impact had about a second or two on the cooldown of his ultimate. Otherwise, I think when APA comes in, you just use that ulti for the stun. You get the Seismic Shove off of that, so just didn't quite have the timing. And meanwhile, Loki's going to be pushing on top side. Impact does not have his teleport. He could ult up there, but this is going to cost them the Herald very likely off his extended play.
Team Liquid thinking about maybe looking around up here, but it is pretty dangerous. C9 have control over the top side river. They got 4 players nearby, and Blaber has already claimed that objective, but APA is putting in a lot of damage on the bottom lane tier 1 turret. The top lane tier 1 for TL also under some pressure here, but not nearly as much. Thanatos just barely clearing out the wave in time to prevent APA from taking bottom tier 1. But now that Yuuji is here, Thanatos is forced to step back. APA is allowed to move forward, and its first turret this game going over to TL.
Well, they just got the flash off Yeon. Blaber caught him walking through the jungle there on a dangerous path and does punish him. Insta-flash from Yeon, respecting there could be other C9 members there.
Yeah, TL had made the call pretty early to send Yuuji to go steal away that red buff and like commit to the bottom side. So their call was, you know what, we're going to give the Rift Herald, try for a kill. At the very least, you know, we'll get red side jungle, counter jungle, and the first tower for themselves. But it did end up costing quite a bit with also losing the flash off of Jhin. You know, Zven's kind of dangerous timing window that we were talking about is coming to an end, and Yeon's is just beginning.
And I really like the fact that they went for that tower play because Team Liquid had already secured 3 neutral objectives for the first feat. There's only 1 kill on the board 16 minutes into the game, so nobody's near the one for PvP. But then they get the first turret. They immediately secure the empowered boots. Nice little bit of extra strength here early on for a game where it's so close, anything can really tip the scales in one side or the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's not game deciding by any means, but it is very big. You know, they're quite nice ever since the change where they made the boot upgrade cheaper. It is something that you'll see basically upgraded from pretty much every player every game at this point. So definitely going to be happy about that. Having that little bit of additional move speed and combat power can be quite nice.
All right, let's see if we're going to get a fight as we look here towards the mid lane. Team Liquid going in as Blaber has to flash away the seismic shove from APA. Too much of a threat there onto the jungler. C9 knows that this next Drake is about to spawn here in 30 seconds. They cannot afford to lose Blaber before that. But now that he has no flash, it could be a real dangerous fight. Meanwhile, Impact proxy farming the entire time up here in the top lane.
These are very good choices from Team Liquid, all revolving around the immediacy of the spawn of this dragon. They want to look for some big flash cooldowns before the fight. They blow Blabbers. Then Impact gains tempo by proxying the early time on rotating over, and now he can ult down the river.
The question is, do they feel confident to fight with Yeon having no flash? He's going to be quite vulnerable.
Okay, C9 have started up the Drake. Thanatos ready to teleport in and join the rest of the squad. 5-man unit from both teams ready to contest this third Drake. Already got it down to about half HP. Blaber still working on it. Zven providing additional DPS, and Team Liquid decide they're not going to go in. They will not contest for this, and C9 take the Drake.
Yeon's pushing mid lane, so they're trying to get the tower trade.
Big engage coming out from Vulcan, but he doesn't find anybody. Now C9 trying to continue the follow-up, but it's not there. Team Liquid successfully disengage, and the C9 aggro does not pay off. Impact still keeping everybody away there with a nice use of the Decimate for zone control. The only person that's really taking some damage is Impact and CoreJJ on the Team Liquid side, but they both still have more than half HP.
Yeah, they will be able to just walk it out. Vulcan looking for an aggressive engage there. Does get the flash off of APA. They're not able to knock down CoreJJ with that, but briefly now, TL will have no flashes on either of their main carries. And C9 does get the Dragon, does defend their tier 1 mid, so I'm going to be pretty happy about how things went there overall. It's a very, very even game. 100 gold, 200 gold separating the teams right now. 1 Dragon is the only advantage, really, for TL, plus that feats of strength. So both teams, it's going to come down to execution. And this is often how best of fives goes. Game 1, teams are kind of feeling each other out, getting some of those first game nerves out. And usually when it starts getting explosive, it starts getting really explosive.
Yeah, a lot of the trades so far in this game have been determined by like, oh, 1 extra summoner spell was here used. You know, like, oh, Thanatos did teleport to that fight and Impact just walked because he was proxying. But that's also a very small thing. If Cloud9 are fine just rotating the Azir up to top lane to push on that side, because Loki still has his, and they are. Bottom side, of course, Impact does get the early lead on the push for bottom side, so they will have momentum there, but honestly, I don't think it's going to turn into too much. Even though Otacon is spawning, that thing is, it's a large investment to actually take it, and the reward isn't quite as big as it used to be in the previous season, so teams are a lot more trepid around this objective. Nobody kind of risking a lot to just start it up.
And I like the fact that you use the word risk, because in terms of neutral objectives, he's also one of the highest risk ones because of how much damage he does, because of how powerful his armor and magic resistance shred is. If you make the miscalculation and aren't fast enough on killing him off and the enemy team recognizes it, you're in for a real tough fight. So nobody's going to push that issue too far just yet. Still just that not even 1,000 gold lead for C9. Only 1 kill on the scoreboard 20 minutes into the game. Somebody turn the Ring of Fire on. We need some PvP here.
I think we're going to get it at this next Dragon. I think the main reason TL didn't commit there was because they were missing the flash on Yeon. So if you go for an all-in fight here, you could get punished. But I want to talk a little bit more about Yuuji. If you don't know who this guy is, he is a 2-times winner of the NACL MVP, the Most Valuable Prospect Award. The previous winners being Busio, Masu, and Dokla, who all then won championships in the LCS/LTA thereafter. So the track record really is quite good for winning this award. And this guy won it twice. So the expectations...
He's going to win twice.
There you go. At least. The expectation is definitely very high for Yuuji. And it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, is this really going to be a 6-man roster, or is it going to be, you know, Yuuji coming in and just playing so well that he kind of demands that starting role?
Well, he definitely could in this game, although we haven't had enough action to prove it. The Naafiri definitely is a champion that has a lot of outplay potential, as everyone is now well aware of.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see what antics he can get up to on the dog as soon as he completes second item, get a little bit stronger there. For the time being, though, they really do need to concentrate on opening up the map a little bit more. We only really have had the single tower taken that was traded for the Rift Herald. And so it wasn't like blasting open one side of the map or anything. So we'll have to see if we can you know, get a pick or something that's really going to ignite this game.
All right, the next Drake spawning in 60 seconds. Team Liquid did have control over the first 2, but then Cloud9 with the priority over the bottom side river for that third one. Team Liquid was not confident in their ability to force their way in and try to contest it, so the soul stack has not continued. But if TL want to set up for this, we'll see if Cloud9 will be able to approach, because right now they've also got a 4-man squad down here. Thanatos up in the top lane trying to get that one shoved out. Might be able to take the tier 1 turret before he joins up for the rest of the fight. Does have TP to try to join. CoreJJ in some danger, popping the quickness defensively, but Blaber is ready to chase him down. Impact moving close enough to allow the battle dance to disengage, but it's not enough. CoreJJ gets crashed down on, and now Team Liquid's in some serious trouble. Impact can't get away in time. Core and Impact caught unaware, and C9 is happy to punish.
There's the pick that's actually going to ignite the game, because that's Otacon and the Dragon that's about to spawn for Cloud9 here. Not only do they catch CoreJJ, that's going to be a quick death timer, but getting Impact afterwards also is huge for C9. You look immediately, TL try and go into damage control afterwards. They try and push on the other side of the map. You know, Yeon and Yuuji here in mid lane, but APA at least trades top tower for it.
Yeah, he does get the top tower, but Thanatos got a top tower while they were actually doing those picks. So he killed top tier 1, then TP's down to bot. They get the bot tier 1, the top tier 1, 2 picks, Otacon, and they're now on Dragon. Impact's going to be respawning here in 5. He does have teleport, but he's got no flash, no ult. This would be a hard fight to take, but Yuuji's looking for it.
Okay, Yuuji taking a little bit of damage here at the start. The Chains of Corruption do not find a target. Blaber can jump back over the wall here with a Vault Breaker. Impact using his TP to try to join up as APA wants to block off the C9 escape route. Vulcan almost hit by the seismic shove, but he steps out of the way. It's not enough to keep him alive as Yuuji gets the first kill of the game for Team Liquid. But the Drake and the Otacon have both found their way into C9's pockets.
Such a close series here. We keep trading back minor things after every objective, after every pick. TL still able to at least scrap 1 kill back for themselves. Cloud9, though, really starting to edge ahead with that last run of play when they got the pick on a CoreJJ, turning it into a fairly good power boost for themselves. The timing window on them finishing the Dragon afterwards was quite narrow too. So here's a look at how they got CoreJJ again. When we started, you saw he was placing the ward up there by Raptors. That is a very deep ward. That is a very dangerous ward to go for. Preemptively ahead of the Dragon spawn timer. So he was punished by Cloud9, but again, you get a little bit of pushback from TL. They picked off Vulcan after the Dragon, and they also return to finish the tower.
All right, so no more Otacon. No Dragons for another 4 minutes or so. Baron is about to spawn here in about 10 seconds. Impact gets jumped on by Thanatos and Blaber. They are locking up the Sion. The big meatball front line for Team Liquid is not tanky enough, and C9 just smack him for the disrespect.
Yeah, he just gets CC'd up there for so long. Once the point and click CC is there, the Varus ult is always going to hit after. You have percentage HP damage coming through, and he just got shredded. Impact is killed like it's nothing, and he has no teleport, so Cloud9 can play very confidently on the map, try to get some vision out of here.
He has no teleport, he has no ult, and he's about to have no mid laner. Loki going in looking for the solo kill on APA. C9 is coming to life now.
That's actually huge because they control both side waves. Thanatos already pushing on the top side too. Impact still dead for a while. Now the other solo laner in the dirt.
Baron o'clock.
It's open season on Baron right now. The teleport comes out. Cloud9 will burn this down. Can Yuuji pull out some magic here on the Naafiri? It's a very mobile champion. He can take some risks.
Okay, Impact is alive, but he has to walk all the way down here. Yeon also walking all the way from the base. Yuuji thinking about maybe trying to steal this one away. Some Dark and Daggers flying into the pit, but that's not enough. C9 already going to go ahead and claim themselves a Baron. Vulcan keeping everybody busy over the wall, and CoreJJ is already dead again. Blaber flies into the back line, looking for a little bit more damage here to Yuuji, but there's no follow-up, so he has to flash back to the safety of the team. Curtain Call opens up, trying to find an exit kill. The last shot, not going to find the target as Impact cannot pursue them with the ulti. C9 gets the Baron after the 2 kills on the solo laners, and they get everybody out alive.
And I, for one, am happy to see a controlled Baron here from Cloud9. Vulcan is on peel duty. He keeps the Naafiri out. He gets the W, and it actually turns out even better because they had the multiple kills and APA is still dead. They can go and actually finish that one onto CoreJJ and even get more. Like Cloud9 here absolutely blew this game open.
Yeah, able to get all of these major objectives back to back to back to back. Going to be feeling really good about it. And now, as we get back to live, they're going to be pushing with this Baron buff, trying to extend this gold lead. There's still all 3 of these tier 2 towers on the map that Cloud9 can look to take. You can see Thanatos is pushing up top lane, and Blaber's just going to be bouncing between mid and top while they use this Azir tower summoned up in mid to kind of have this point of power to attack this mid lane tier 2 as well.
Yuuji and APA seeing if maybe they can find an opportunity for a pick here on Thanatos, who just casually walks right past the seismic shot, flashes over the wall. He's ready to turn this one on its head, and APA is heading to the graveyard. If he's not any careful about it, then he is. APA's already down. CoreJJ is going to go with them. Ever since that first overextension for the deep ward in the C9 jungle, CoreJJ's been dead more than he's been alive.
You better be careful when you go and try and gank Thanatos. You know, he is not trapped in top lane with you. You're trapped in there with him, and they're going to destroy the base.
They're going to destroy the base. They're going to destroy the top lane tier 2. They're going to have the Baron for another 60 seconds, and the Dragon's going to spawn then as well. C9 have total control over Summoner's Rift in this one. There was 1 kill on the board 20 minutes into this game. It was a 500 gold difference. 8 minutes later, C9 is up 9,000 gold.
I mean, they've just made all the better plays, right? They're the right place, right time, punishing every overextension, it feels like, from TL, really understanding where they're strong, when they're strong here. And Cloud9 have just created a massive gold lead with this. The death cap completed by Loki on that base. Now the Sterix completed as well. I think he's actually going to sell that and swap it over to the Death Dance. But 3 major items now for Thanatos and Loki. 3rd item through for Zven. Their carries are well and truly online. And they're just going to go right back to the Dragon, move towards Soul Point here, grab that Mountain Soul, and when you're already this far ahead, the extra defensive stats are so difficult to overcome because TL really does need to 100-0 someone with APA and Yuuji right off the rip to have a chance in a fight. And if you get Mountain Soul, that's just not happening.
And TL also need to stop getting picked off. They keep losing members. It feels like every couple of minutes, somebody is just dying on the side. Cloud9 have just been methodical, moving across the map. And now with mid inhibitor already down, bottom lane is an easy pathway in here to Siege. APA was trying to push topside for a little bit there, but Cloud9, they take that Baron and they use that buff to the maximum.
The biggest problem for Cloud9 right now is that there's only a few things left to take from Team Liquid. They've already claimed all of the Tier 1 turrets, all of the Tier 2 turrets, 2 out of the 3 Tier 3 turrets, 1 of the inhibitors, 1 of them's open. There's not a whole lot of these loot pinatas left to smack. C9 with total control.
Dang, we're too good.
The best kind of problem to have as C9 just moving into Team Liquid's jungle, removing all of the vision, making it so scary to step outside the walls of the base for TL. Vulcan just waiting in the brushes. Thanatos waiting to see if anybody from TL is going to try to step up and retake any bit of this territory, because if they try, they're dead.
I want to know how many Cloud9 fans were previous Blaber Vi haters that have been converted. Because honestly, he has had some good Vi games, racking up a few of them in a row here, I feel like. This one was very controlled. When you think of like the yikes moments, it's always like, oh no, I took my ultimate and someone flashed me under tower. And you know, it has had a couple of those, but this game has been so controlled from C9. And he's found some very good picks, starting with a lot of the mid focus that, you know, got them into this position.
And it's really interesting because we had this episode of Pros where APA was on there with some other mid laners, you know, alongside Quid. You know, they were talking about how C9 is just this really standard team, and it felt like they were really kind of, you know, underrating them and thinking, yeah, they're not that special. They just kind of farm. They play normal champs. They don't really do anything that crazy. But C9, you know, obviously is still a force to be reckoned with. They do play that style very, very effectively. They have really good individual players. They team fight well. And I do think you have to give them that respect here coming into playoffs.
Well, we've got less than a minute now until Baron spawns again. C9 going back to base, taking care of their purchases. You can see everybody pathing up towards that Baron pit, and you have to think that if they can secure this one without anything totally wild happening, it's just a march into the Team Liquid base and a Game 1 win right after.
Yeah, I mean, Loki is just so ridiculously strong right now that it feels like you can't win the fight without killing him, and now he has a Seekers on top, right? And that is always, exactly, that is always that kind of doomsday scenario where you start to look over and you see these luxury items coming through. Sterix is done now for Blaber. You can see he has an Iron Elixir in his inventory as well. And Thanatos very likely will have a Sterix here soon too. So, I mean, they're just getting so hard to knock down, and they're such a massive gold lead that the amount of damage they're going to be doing is ridiculous.
Thanatos chunking half of Yuuji's HP out there with a quick Renekton combo. Means that the Team Liquid jungler is going to try to heal up a little bit more as Vulcan steps up. He even steals away the chicken.
Yeah, I mean, it is just not TL's jungle at this point. They see Vulcan coming. They know he wants to look for that engage, so they have just got to leave. And C9 just have Blaber and Loki two-manning this. You want to say Yuuji's got to look for a steal, but how does he ever get there? They have no vision in their jungle whatsoever. Thanatos is just bodyguarding all the entrances, so all they can do is just go bot side and try to get a camp or two in exchange for the Baron.
But it's actually so simple for Cloud9 because they can just group up as long as they move by a pack. Nobody's going to get picked, and they can just go siege up with the Baron. The time is in their favor. as long as they're patient here and don't fumble with a 10,000 gold lead, 3 dragon lead in front of the Nexus turrets.
20 seconds until the mid lane inhibitor respawns. The top lane inhib dead for a good long time now as Team Liquid is looking for their opportunity, their last defense here at the Nexus turrets. Weaver's Wall isn't going to do a whole lot here at the very start. CoreJJ jumping into the back line as Yuuji has found his way onto Zven, but it's not enough. APA is already dead, and Team Liquid's attempt is halted in its tracks. Impact drops next, and Loki flies into the back line for the Emperor's Divide. A double kill as Yeon falls. Team Liquid is erased off Summoner's Rift, and C9 dominates game 1.
What a controlled game from Cloud9 in the opener of this series. It is a best of 5, so TL gonna have to immediately go back and face Spawn in person to hear about that one.
He is not going to be happy with the outcome of that game. It was a slow first 20 minutes, but then C9 hit the gas pedal and never slowed down. Let's head on over now to the LTA Lounge, who are joined by a special guest.